Here I have these 5 tins. It doesn't specify what exactly they are, but I bought 2 of them from Target not too long ago. And I figured that we can open them up today and talk about basically World War I during, World War I during Christmas time, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And because a lot of people talk about the truce, the famous Christmas truce, and that was definitely a thing, and there's so much about it online. Let's keep going on the struggle bus here. And when I was in college, I took a World War I history class. Basically, I majored in secondary education social studies, and essentially that was a history degree plus a education degree. I'm just gonna open up both of them at the same time. And so I got to take a lot of history classes, and the way that history classes work in college, if you haven't done that, is that they're very specific. Like once you get past basically History 101, which is not what it's called anymore normally, you get into very specific topics. So, like for instance, I took a nuclear history class. Wow, these are very well glued. Good job, everyone. Did a great job on that. Not being sarcastic, they really did a great job. So I took like a nuclear history class. I took a Buddhism class. I feel like they normally get stuck in there. Okay, we got these promos here. Let's see what we got. We got one that I've never seen before. Oh, and now it's on the floor. And then let me just take these out real quick. Oh goodness. Oops, okay. And I guess there's not a code card. Normally there's a code card. Okay, and hopefully I'm not rolling over that. Okay, so we got these guys, and then that worm one that I had never seen before. And then we got some tins. I've opened up a couple of those before, but we will see. Okay, so again, I have these guys, the worm, and no code cards, which is interesting to me. Okay, so we got 5 tins. We got 5 promos. I'll do this. Repeat it. Okay, so anyway, like I was saying, in college, when you take a history class, after you get done with like the basics, you start going into more specific classes, one of which that I took was World War I history, and I really, really enjoyed it. It made me have a whole different appreciation and perspective when it comes to World War I, because everyone always talks about World War II because it's interesting, but World War I we don't normally talk about, even though there would be no World War II if there was no World War I, but you know what I'm saying. And oof, there's got to be an easier way than what I'm doing here. My apologies. Okay. So, one of the history books that I read when I was taking that class is actually from the German point of view, aka not the good guys. It's World War I, so it's less problematic, the German side, but nonetheless, it's still the German side. And this is the book, Storm of Steel by Ernst Junger, and it is so good because when we learn about war, we oftentimes forget, depending on what aspect of the war you're focusing on, we oftentimes forget the human element, and that is so problematic, to use that word again, and it's doing a disservice to everybody who was there, right? If we forget the human aspect and we're just talking about like the movements of what front was where and who did what and stuff, like the military history aspect of it does not really interest me. What interests me is people's stories. And because a lot of the people who are in any war, is that they do not want to be there, right? Normally war is of those who are in power, and the little guy doesn't really care. Like, let me just get back to my farm or whatever. Just let me live my life. Get out the way, please. Please don't make me fodder. Please don't make me just somebody to die so that you can gain some more land, okay? That's your average person in most wars. There are some that are more moral based. That's a different conversation. But for this one, I mean, if you know anything about World War I, you probably know that it was trench warfare, meaning that there's this thing called no man's land, which again, you probably know, where you have no man's land, where it's a space between two trench lines. Okay, a trench is like it's like a hole, but it's dug into the ground in like not a tunnel. It's not covered. It's not normally covered. It's just like an area that the people can be in and walk and everything. And then within those dugouts, they have little cubbies basically where they can sleep and stuff like that. Okay, so we've done that part. So now they're all open. Let's see what we have. I don't even know. Okay, so we got this little guy, so cute. And then, is he terrified? Like, what's going on with that little guy? What is happening here? Okay, and a sticker, and then, just kidding. Scarlet and Violet and Silver Tempest. Okay, I imagine they're all gonna be the same. And since this guy has Quaxley on it, I guess that's how it's gonna go. So let's just streamline it again. Let's just open it. Okay. So anyway, like I was saying, that's trench warfare. Additionally, you might know about trench foot, which is horrible when there's a lot of water, because you're basically, again, in a hole. And these trenches, okay, yep, Scarlet, Violet, Silver Tempest. These trenches were oftentimes in places that were extremely rainy climates. And so what happens is a lot of water gets in there, and there's no way to get it out because it just keeps raining and raining and raining. And meanwhile, this is a time where there's no waterproof shoes. So your feet and more, but oftentimes your feet especially, are just wet the whole time. And if you've ever been in a pool or the shower or whatever too long, then you know that your fingers get wrinkly. And also when that happens, weird to say this, but your skin kind of falls off easier, or like it'll come off easier, which is gross. But it's true that when your skin is very wet for a long amount of time, the integrity basically of your skin goes down by a lot. Okay, so imagine this is at wartime. You are in a trench. You are stuck. You don't want to be there. You literally can die at any moment. You've seen your friends die in front of your face. It's highly possible that they are in front, like their dead body could be, this is a great Christmas conversation, that their dead body could be rotting in front of your face on the top of the trench line. Okay, literally that's what would happen, because there's nobody to go get the bodies. If you just pop your head up a little bit, you're gone too. So the bodies that were there would just be chilling, like, and just decomposing in this wet climate. It's really horrible things. Oh, I got lucky. Wait, did they not give me oh, it is, never mind. I'm just kidding. I thought it was two of the, it doesn't even matter. Okay. So putting all that into perspective, this is a horrible situation to be in. You don't even care about like why you're there. No one cares about really why you're there. You probably didn't even volunteer to be here. You were probably told that you're gonna just go to this place and you're gonna stay there for as long as they tell you to, and you're probably not gonna move an inch because you're literally dug into the ground. And so these lines aren't moving. So you're just being surrounded by dead bodies, some of which are your friends. You're cold, you're wet. You could die at any moment. At any moment, a grenade could come over. At any moment, or an artillery shell could come over the top. And if you're interested in like, what does this look like and stuff in reality, the best depiction that I've seen of this is 1917, the movie 1917. it does a really good job of not explaining, but like showing what that constant fear would be like and the intensity. Most of the time, honestly, it was boring. Most of the time, nothing was happening. Like, again, you're constantly afraid that you could die because you could literally die at any moment. But things aren't really like happening all that much. Plus the big boys, the big ones who are making these choices, man, they're not even there. They are at their cozy, nice place, maybe in the French countryside or something. And they're just telling people, hey, hold the line or whatever. They're not actually doing anything. They're not actually contributing. It's the little guys. It's the little guys who are pawns and replaceable. So let's do the Scarlet and Violet first. So it's those people who are there. Your average Joes are the ones in the trenches. Your big fancy generals are not in the trenches. There are going to be some, or there were, let's put it that way, some officers who are more educated and therefore harder to replace. And yes, they were in the front sometimes, but at a very small ratio compared to those other people, for lack of a better term, enlisted people. So all of that, I feel like, helps put these Christmas Day truces into perspective, because these people didn't really hate each other. They only hated each other if they were told that and they were like brainwashed into doing it. But if you've ever been to Europe, you know, or if you've known a European person, I would say that it is extremely common for Europeans to know more than one language. Geographically, it's a small area, right? So like a lot of British people also can speak at least a little bit of French and stuff like that. And that's important because that helps you to be able to communicate with each other, right? If you are in a war zone, it's helpful if you can speak some of the language of the people who you are around, whether they are friends or foe, you know, civilians or whatever. It's helpful to be able to communicate with people because that can solve a lot of problems. So in a little bit, towards the end of the video, I'm going to read, and I apologize in advance, I'm not a great reader, but read a portion of that book, Storm of Steel. Because, again, in modern day kind of history settings, a lot of times we just think of it as like, man, I'm getting nothing. I'm striking out all the time here. We think of like, in war, there's a good side and a bad side. It is not that simple. Again, sometimes it is. If we're talking about the Nazis, yeah, for sure. Okay. I have heard people say, white border code card or whatever. So I don't know if that means anything here, but it is different from all the other ones. So, I don't know. Let's see what happens. Again, it's not that simple. A lot of times, again, sometimes it is. Most of the time, though, it is not that simple to say this guy is the good side and that guy is the bad side. It's just normally not that simple. Oh, hey there. Oh, hey. Okay, I finally got something nice. I don't know if it's worth anything, but I know that this guy is popular. People like that one. Okay, so maybe there is something something to this white border code card thing. Okay, noted. Okay, more. Okay, so again, if people can talk the same language, right? And if everybody here doesn't want to be there, okay? If the guys on the German side don't want to be there, and if the guys on the British side or the French side or whatever don't want to be there, then you're not supposed to talk to the guy on the other side. But what if you did, right? What if you just talk to each other? Then maybe we have something good going here, because maybe we can say, hey, other side, because I speak a little bit of your language, so I'll try to just say something. Right? And I might be like, hey, buddy, we have a bunch of dead people who are piling up over here. Would it be cool if we just like pause it for like, 10 minutes or whatever, and then we just get back to it, but we can retrieve our dead, because that would be pretty nice. It's getting pretty smelly over here. And they wouldn't say it like that, but that's what they're thinking, because it's disgusting and horrific. So they had these conversations. They would pause, and they would be like, hey, like, none of this matters anyway. Don't tell my boss I said that, but like, let's just be chill for a second. Let's not shoot at each other, and let's just clean up the place, basically. And again, you'd think that would not happen, because if we have this view of a war from a good side and a bad side, like there is a good side and there is a bad side. Ooh, okay, white border code card. Let's see what we got. If it's that simple, then why would you talk to them, right? Like, if I'm fighting against Nazis, I don't really want to talk to you. Like, we have a fundamental disconnect here that is not acceptable. There's definitely something on. That is so cute. He's under the table. He's like, can I have some of that food, please? That's so cute. Okay, last one for Scarlet and Violet. We have a couple of hits here. I'm okay with that. 5, 10. Yeah, that makes sense. That's 9. So this is 10. Oh, and we got another whiteboard code card. Let's go. Okay. What have we got? What is this? That guy does not look too good. Like, he looks like he's struggling. This one. And this one. And this one. That's cute. Go goat. Go goat. Go goat. That's kind of a weirdo. Okay. Okay. Sorry. I was kind of spoiled it a little bit. Okie dokie. Put that on the front. And put that. Okay. Oh, it's a full art. Look how that's fancy. Wow. Okay. That's pretty good. Come on, man. It started off slow, but I got some good ones. Okay. So then we got these boys. We got these Silver Tempest guys. Okay. So I will talk to you while I open up these ones, and then I will read to you over my video. Did I open this backwards? Does it normally do that? Okay. Code card. Oh, wait. Border code card is okay. So is it going to be the same as the other one? Let's find out. It's going to be a long video. Sorry. Okay. This guy. That guy. This one. That one. Oops. This one. What a weird looking creature that is. Okay. Okay. So this is the one that I need to do like card trick thing. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Well, okay, so that does not work. White border code card does not work on these Silver Tempest packets. Noted, because there's nothing fancy in here. Like, unless I went over something. Okay. 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 So, in regard to the Christmas truce, so it depended on the year. It depended on who was the boss. All these kinds of things. But I will say that they definitely did happen. They happened multiple times. How many was it from the back? Let's see. 3. Let's see. Okay. Hi, buddy. I like that one. Okay. That's cute, too. Sorry, I got distracted. These are cuties. Okay. What is she wearing? Is it a boy? What is he wearing? I don't even know. Okay. Almost dropped it. What are those pants? Are those pants? Bizarre. Okay. Anyway. More information about the truces. They exchange buttons, so like buttons from the uniform. They exchange cigarette. Did I just see? No, I don't think so. Okay. They exchanged cigarettes. They did a whole bunch of stuff. Again, basic kind of war stuff. The buttons are a little bit different. But definitely like smoking cigarettes. And let's think about that for... I've never gotten a rainbow card. Even though this one doesn't look too cool to me, but that's fine. And I've never gotten one of these cards. And I know for those who collect them, you're like, that's so stupid. It doesn't matter, but I've never gotten one, so that's cool for me, even though I dropped it. This does not seem like a good name. Slurpuff? Who came up with that? And weird action. Okay, anyway. I like that texture. That's neat too. Cool. I don't know if I've ever gotten a V-Star. I don't know. And it had a white border code card. I don't know. I'm learning. Okay, Silver Tempest again. Another thing is that the officers from further back in the line, they got mad. They got mad when they heard that they were like being nice to each other, because that's not how you're supposed to act. Hi, little cutie. I've never gotten a Dragonite before. They're so cute. They didn't like that, and I know that they thought that, I imagine that they thought it would make them weak. But again, like, it just shows you the difference in the way that an officer would think versus the grunt, the guy who's in the literally in the trenches with his feet about to come off, because it's basically disintegrating off of his own body. Again, gross. But considering like what was happening in these trenches, bro, that was like not even the tip of the iceberg of how disgusting things were. So I'm gonna... Hi there. That's so great. I got 2 V-Stars. I've never gotten I don't think I've ever gotten a V-Star. Now I got 2. So now I don't know if it's a good time for me to start doing the reading. I will. I recorded it before I started this video, and it was like 6 minutes. Again, I apologize. I'm not an English teacher. I try my best. But I think it's really interesting. I highly recommend this book. This book, Ernst Junger, Storm of Steel, I highly recommend. There is a free version. Like, if you Google this, you will find a free version online. However, I do not like the translation as much as that version, the Penguin Classics. Excuse me. If you want to know the ISBN and stuff, just get off of like eBay or whatever. It's so good, and it humanizes war, and it helps you understand a different perspective, because we never learn about the other side. And again, it's not even like a moral thing. Like, it's simply that I get another V-Star. Okay, so I guess they don't just pop up all the time, huh? And there's that cutie pie. Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and start running that audio on top. If you have anything that you would like to learn about, please put it in the comments below, because I would like to teach you what people like to learn. So, other than that, I will run that audio, and let's see what happens next. On 11 December, I went over the top to the front of the line to report to the new commander of my company. As I was about to leap into the trench, I was shocked at the change to the position in just a fortnight. It had collapsed into a huge mud-filled pit in which the occupants slushed around miserably. Already up to my hip in it, I thought, we poor grunts. Almost all the dugouts had collapsed, and the shelters were inundated. We had to spend the next weeks working incessantly, merely to get something resembling terra firma underfoot. For the time being, I stayed with the lieutenants in a shelter, whose ceiling, in spite of tarpaulins suspended beneath it, leaked like a sieve, so that the servants had to carry the water out in buckets every half hour. When I left the shelter completely sodden the following morning, I couldn't believe the sight that met my eyes. The battlefield that previously had borne the stamp of deathly emptiness upon it was now as animated as a fairground. The occupants of both trenches had emerged from the morass of their trenches onto the top, and already a lively exchange of schnapps, cigarettes, uniform buttons, and other items had commenced between two barbed wire lines. The throng of khaki-clad figures emerging from the hitherto so apparently deserted English lines seemed as eerie as the appearance of a ghost in daylight. Suddenly a shot rang out that laid one of our men dead in the mire, whereupon both sides quickly scuttled back into their trenches. I went to that part of our line which fronted on to the British sap, and called out that I wanted to speak to an officer. And lo, I saw several British soldiers going back and returning with a young man from their firing trench who had on, as I was able to see through my field glasses, a somewhat more ornate cap than they did. We negotiated first in English and then a little more fluently in French, with all the men listening. I reproached him for the fact that one of our men had been killed by a treacherous shot, to which he replied that hadn't been because of his company, but the one adjacent. There are some unscrupulous people on your side, too, he remarked when a few shots from the sector next to ours plugged into the ground not far from his head, causing me to get ready to take cover. We did, though, say much to one another that betokened an almost sportsman-like admiration for the other, and I'm not sure we should have liked to exchange mementos. For clarity's sake, we gave a solemn mutual declaration of war, to commence 3 minutes after the end of our talks, and following a good night on his part and an au revoir on mine, to the regret of my men, I fired off a shot that pinged against his steel loophole, and got one myself that almost knocked the rifle out of my hands. It was the first time I had been given an opportunity to survey the battlefield in front of the sap, seeing as otherwise one couldn't even show the peak of one's cap in such a perilous place. I saw that immediately in front of our entanglements there was a skeleton whose bleached bones glimmered out of scraps of blue uniform. From the British cap badges seen that day, we were able to tell that the regiment facing ours were the, quote, Hindustani Leicesters. Shortly after our negotiations were concluded, our artillery fired off a few rounds at the enemy positions, whereupon, before our eyes, 4 stretchers were carried across the open field without a single shot being loosed off at them from our side. I must say I felt proud. Throughout the war, it was always my endeavor to view my opponent without animus, and to form an opinion of him as a man on the basis of the courage he showed. I would always try and seek him out in combat and kill him, and I expected nothing else from him. But never did I entertain mean thoughts of him. When prisoners fell into my hands later on, I felt responsible for their safety and would always do everything in my power for them. As Christmas approached, the weather seemed to worsen. We had to recourse to pumps in our efforts to do something about the water. During this muddy phase, our losses also worsened. So, for instance, I find in my diary for 12 December, today we've buried 7 men and 2 more were shot. And for 23 December, mud and filth are getting the better of us. This morning at 3 o'clock, an enormous deposit came down at the entrance to my dugout. I had to employ 3 men who were barely able to bail the water that poured into my dugout. Our trench is drowning. The morass is now up to our navels. It's desperate. On the right side of our frontage, another corpse has begun to appear. So far, just the legs. We spent Christmas Eve in the line and, standing in the mud, sang hymns, to which the British responded with machine gun fire. On Christmas Day, we lost 1 man to a ricochet in the head. Immediately afterwards, the British attempted a friendly gesture by hauling a Christmas tree up on their traverse, but our angry troops quickly shot it down again, to which Tommy replied with rifle grenades. It was all in all a less than merry Christmas. On 28 December, I was back in command, and on that day, One of my best men lost his arm to a shell fragment. Another received a bad thigh wound from one of the many bullets that were whizzing round our earthworks in the hollow. And my first of many servants to die in service fell victim to shrapnel that passed through his windpipe as he was on his way to get my lunch. As he was setting off with the mess tins, I had called out to him, "Mind how you go, won't you?" He said, "I'll be fine, Lieutenant." And then I was summoned and found him laying on the ground close to the dugout, gurgling as the air passed through the wound into his chest with every breath he took. I had him carried back. He died a few days later in a hospital. It was a feature of this case, as it was quite a few others, that his inability to speak made him even more pathetic as he stared at the nurses in bewilderment like a tormented animal.